But in this game, players are android farmers farming those electric sheep that are of course needed for robots to dream. Each player starts the game with their own player sheet, and you're going to be trying to fill in as many of these sheep as possible in order to try and score the most victory points at the end of the game. The way that you do this is over a series of rounds, because every single round a pool of dice is going to be rolled, and then players are going to be taking turns drafting a die into their possession until they have a total of 2 dice each. The total of the values of the dice that you drafted are going to indicate which column you'll be able to fill in a sheep, with each of these columns being associated with 1 or 2 numbers. Obviously 7 is the most common number to roll when you're rolling 2 dice and adding them together, but then every other column does have multiple values that you could roll. But whatever total you rolled, you'll be able to fill in a sheep in that associated column, assuming that there's still sheep there available, unless they're one of these darker sheep, because these sheep are actually protected behind encryption and you'll have to unlock them before you'll be able to cross them off. But luckily there is an action to be able to do that. You'll be able to take an action every single turn, but the action that you'll be able to take is completely dependent on the first die that you drafted, because each of these actions that are offered in the game are going to be also associated with a value of a die. This means that you do have some interesting decisions to make when you draft your die, because you are trying to get a certain total to be able to cross off the sheep that you're trying to cross off. But then you're also trying to weigh that with getting the appropriate actions that you need depending on your current situation in the game. Most of these actions will have you filling in other areas of your board and can sometimes involve a small mini game, rolling dice, and even a bit of push your luck. But the different actions can allow you to do things like unlock point multipliers for the various columns of your sheep, gain access to those inaccessible sheep, modify your dice on future rounds, or even be able to mess with your opponent's sheep by making some of their sheep completely worthless. The game continues like this, with players filling in those sheep and taking advantage of those actions to try and score more victory points than their opponents, but there's also opportunity to score victory points in other ways, because each game's also going to have 3 different objective cards, and if players are able to complete the requirements of those cards, then they'll gain victory points for those as well. And of course, if this one sounds interesting to you, I will have a link down below, and you can click to get notified.